6:30. Again, I'll call this regular meeting of the Qathet Regional Board to order. Thank you all for coming in on a sweltering hot evening. And I would like to welcome alternate director Charles Williams, who is here for Kay Brander, who's possibly even in a hotter place. So, first up is the approval of the agenda. A motion to adopt.
Move approval.
Director Doug, thank you. And that Director Paul. What? Thank you, Director Paul. All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Adoption of the minutes of the regular board meeting of June 30th. Are there any errors or omissions?
There's one little thing.
Director Paul, to adopt. Right.
Thank you. I'll move adoption, but I have one little minor change.
Yes.
Under my report on page 3, it says the ecological. I reported on an ecological group from SFU. I must have mispronounced it. It's an archaeological group from SFU.
That certainly was. Thank you. I'm sure the minutes will be corrected.
Thank you.
So, if you move to adopt the minutes, that's correct?
Yep. So moved.
And Director Bill. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Okay, we have no delegations. No unfinished business. Correspondence. One piece of correspondence from David Ham regarding the Lasqueti Island resident. He is a Lasqueti Island resident. We honorariums for.
I'll move receipt.
Move receipt, Director Paul. Seconded by Director McCormick. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None carries. Chair's report. Well, this is certainly the summer doldrums. A couple of items I'll mention. One for the chair and one for my director. I had the pleasure of attending a ceremony last Monday regarding the name change for the hospital, which is now the Qathet General Hospital. A good move, and I welcome that. Also, I had an email from a correspondent, or a constituent rather, up in my area, who was concerned that a gate has been put across what he assumed was a public road. And no, it's not Savory Island, it's the Lasqueti Peninsula, north of Lund. And I had to check with highways, and I can tell you, and anybody watching, what we thought was a public road all the way up to Sarah Point is in fact runs through private property, and this person has put a gate up and put a sign up, no trespassing. However, you can still get to Sarah Point, and Reno Police, the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, did provide me a guide as to how to wander around the Lasqueti Peninsula to get around the private property. So if anybody needs that, they can contact me, or even better yet, contact Mr. Booth. And with that, we'll go to the record out.
You've already reported on the major statements in the last couple of weeks period, and I will leave it at that.
I'll go to the screen. Above your head there, Director Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Arts Fest returned after 2 canceled years on the long weekend at the start of July. The community was very happy to gather outside, see art, and listen to some amazing local music. On July 15th, a new plaque was unveiled at Squiddy Bay Provincial Park to acknowledge and honor First Nations history. This project was started by a resident who felt that there should be something else to balance the older plaque that only mentions Spanish, quote, discovery, unquote, of the island and naming after a Spanish naval explorer officer. The new plaque is quite simple and references the island as Huete, which means yew tree in Tlatman. One of the First Nations who attended told a story about how the island was a toppled yew tree. The project started with discussions, and then a reconciliation committee of the Lasqueti Community Association was formed, on which I was a member. A local resident donated and moved a beautiful granite boulder to the site, BC Parks was very supportive and funded the costs. A local archaeologist and SFU prof, Dr. Dana Lipovsky, became involved and helped invite and coordinate with the many First Nations that include Lasqueti as part of their home. At least 20 people traveled to Lasqueti from the Qualicum, Comox, Wewakam, and Tla'amin First Nations to join something like 70 locals at the park for the unveiling. We had a potluck afterwards at the hall and shared many words of cooperation, respect, and healing from all sides. It was a moving moment for many and a positive step on our path of reconciliation. On July 25th, the Coastal Invasive Species Committee held its quarterly meeting and met our new executive director, which we're relieved to have. We adopted an updated strategic plan that I will forward for board information once I receive a final copy. And today there was a public drop-in session from noon until 5 at the community hall with our manager of emergency services, Ryan Toms, the LIVFD fire chief, and the Lasqueti emergency coordinator. There was a lot of good discussion among the 30 or so people that dropped by. I only heard support for amended option C. I didn't hear anyone speaking in favor of anything else. The survey has now been launched, which is great. The public will be notified more about that, paper copies and online, and hopefully we receive a strong and clear response from this, from the community on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the subject of islands, excuse me. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the Heritage Society and Commission, which had its annual general museum, which is located in Bonanda at the elementary school. And, you know, it's just an amazing museum. So I'm going to take a few seconds here for a very quick plug. They have a really interesting new display this year, which is a diorama of the whiskey still in Pocahontas Bay. Now, that operated throughout the 1920s, and it's believed to have produced 500 gallons of moonshine per week until 1928, when it was busted by the cops and closed down. So it's really an interesting part of Texada history, and the diorama depicts what that would have looked like. It even has a little cat running around the ground, and it's really worth seeing. Applause to Texada artist Charlotte Dow, who created the diorama. And the museum is open Wednesday to Sunday, including holiday Mondays, from 11 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. So please come out and see a terrific museum. On the 12th, I attended the BC Ferries open house and workshop, which took place on Texada, regarding the proposed nonstop service between Texada and Comox. A lot of different opinions expressed, consensus on a couple of things. Wednesday and Saturday are certainly key days. People are happy to pay over there on the return rather than collecting money on the ferry. And yeah, so there was a number of issues still left hanging, and those will be referred to a joint ferry advisory committee, BC Ferries working group to sort out and bring back some more recommendations. So we'll look forward to that when it happens. On the 15th, I attended something really unusual. It was a blessing ceremony for what is being created as the Texada mace. That is a long piece of really ornate wood. I believe it's arbutus with lots of curves in it. And it's adorned with items depicting all the various aspects of Texada life, you know, the RCMP, the church, the improvement districts. There's even a piece of beach glass in there, which I think I was one to provide. So it's really amazing. It was a blessing ceremony involving both the Legion and the church, and kudos to artist George Williams for his amazing woodwork that created the mace. You'll be seeing it at the front of Sandcastle Parade, and anytime there's a ceremonial event, it will become part of the fabric of Texada. On the 23rd, a group of visual artists held a kind of almost impromptu festival at the Texada Garden Center. Well attended. It was a beautiful sunny day, not baking hot like it is today. And then this week, of course, is the Texada Aerospace Camp, which is for kids 10 and up and to learn, aviation, aeronautics, all kinds. On hiatus, of course, for the last 2 years. So it's really great to see it back. I'll be going on Friday to hand out certificates to the graduates. And this Sunday is the fly-in. So if you're an aviation nut or just love looking at lots of planes, come on out to the Gillies Bay Airport. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Director Gifford.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. This month has been heating up in the farming area of Paradise Valley in Area B. Nothing major to report this month other than receiving and responding to calls from concerned residents about various issues. And I've just been providing the contact information to the relevant agencies to direct their questions and concerns. Most of the questions at this time of year are related to Ministry of Transportation. Other than that, nothing to report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Director Leishman.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just briefly, I also had the privilege of attending the renaming of the hospital to Qathet General Hospital. It was a really beautiful ceremony and real testament to the leaders in the nation and the leaders of Vancouver Coastal Health for taking it seriously, the request for a name change. And there were some just amazing speeches. I was really grateful to be there and happy to participate in that. And I, a couple of weeks ago, attended a Zoom meeting for the Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities Climate Leadership Plan Steering Committee. And it is still carrying on. I may have mentioned this in a previous update, that there is an Indigenous consultancy firm that has been contracted to basically pull together the work that has been done to date, and there is outreach to all the Indigenous communities in this VICC region to incorporate in the Indigenous perspective in the climate action plan. So that's an ongoing task that some of the communities are a little bit strapped for heavily involvement at this time. So they're trying to stretch out the opportunities for the engagement, and they're looking for funding right now. So the committee wants to extend beyond into the next term. So they're working on a sort of a funding strategy right now. So there may be more correspondence coming to the board soon, actually. So that's it. And I just wanted to let the boardroom know that you kind of sound like you're in a fishbowl to us. So please speak loudly. Otherwise, it's fairly muffled on our end. Thanks.
Okay, I'll try and speak up. Thank you very much. Alternate Director Williams, I haven't been ignoring you. Have you anything to offer us, or we just cut the path with it?
Two short announcements.
Okay.
July 11th, library trustees, the anniversary celebrations went well, and there were a lot of activities that these and associated with the library. Some concert and
Finding it really hard to hear.
Yes. Staff advised we can't raise the audio any higher.
So Max.
Okay.
Library was also pleased to
turn my horn up. Thank you.
Provincial grant totaling a little over 91,000. This was the same amount that was received in 2021. The Ferry Advisory Committee announcement. BC Ferries has announced that foot passengers can now book their travel to Comox Power River Run, and a saver fare of $39 for vehicle and driver will be available for the last sailings of the day in both directions from July 13th. Number of saver fares will be available on selected sailings. Advance, they're expected to sell out.
Thank you. Well, that takes us to the consent agenda. This is where everybody gets to choose something to pull for this too. We'll move right along. Any takers?
Hello, Moto.
Seeing none, I'm looking to adopt these consent agendas in order. Director Leishman and Director McCormick, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh, none carried. That takes us right through. Once again, I just continue to scroll. There we go. Okay, we're up to 11.1. Housing needs report update and next steps. This is directors A, B, C, D, and E with an unweighted vote. What's the pleasure of the board? Thank you. Director Dowd has moved the motion. I need a second. Now, Director Dowd has moved the motion, but he's not going to be able to vote on it. So he knows that already. Okay, Director Paul.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering if E, just to verify that E is supposed to vote on this, because it seems a bit unusual, but maybe I see the CAO has maybe an answer.
Through the chair, your question, Director Paul, is who can vote?
No, we want to know if Director he can vote.
Oh, no. Our bylaw allows anybody to move the motion. So that's what Director Dowd did, but he's not able to vote on it.
No, that wasn't my question. It says directors A, B, C, D, E, unweighted vote. And so I'm wondering about area E, about my vote, whether I should be actually voting on this since it's planning, I thought.
Yeah. Sorry, that's a typo. You're not allowed to vote on this.
Okay, I will keep my hand down. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I think Director Fidborn.
I have a question. Since this has to do with, you know, an item being considered for the budget, wouldn't it be a weighted vote?
I'm having trouble with the audio coming through. Try that again, please.
Oh, thank you. I guess that makes two of us. The audio on your side is a little challenging. My question is, since this motion has to do with budget consideration, would it be a weighted vote, or is it just to ask for the financial plan? And since it's not directly budget, it's not weighted. Is that the difference?
Gail, through the chair. We are on 11.1, are we not?
Yeah.
Okay, there is a financial implication down the road, but this is just an action item, so it's non-weighted.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question. I'm planning to vote against this resolution because my understanding is the QRD, as well as all regional districts and local governments, need to complete a report by April of 2022 and every 5 years thereafter. So my understanding from the provincial requirement is that the next housing needs report needs to be completed by April of 2027. So I think 2023 is a bit early. I do recognize that our projections for population growth are inconsistent with, you know, what the numbers we got from the federal government versus what's actually in the housing needs report. However, if memory serves me correctly, we voted down a regional growth strategy because we don't have growth. So I can't support the resolution at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Any further discussion? Director McCormick.
Thank you. I'm speaking in favor of the motion. I think that growth is a really dynamic thing. Yes, we have growth. That's shown through the census and the results therefrom. We don't have enough growth to warrant excuse me, a regional growth strategy, but I believe we do have enough to try to effectively address the housing situation, which is probably the biggest thing that is holding back growth on Texada. There is no place for people to live. If you look at the Texada message board, it's constantly, do you know of a house for rent? Do you have a basement suite, anything? And, there's really nothing. Housing is a really dynamic and really critical issue. And right now it is right at the forefront of growth, because without housing, we can't have growth. And I've seen that right here on the island. So yeah, I see this updated. Thank you, Chair.
We can't hear you at all, Chair.
Yeah, I hear nothing as well.
I don't see any microphones. No. Not suggesting. The microphone you would try to get closer to.
Now we can hear the boardroom.
Okay, Director Gisborne, you had your hand up?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Chair. I absolutely believe that we have growth. I believe we have significant growth. That's why previously I was in favor of regional growth strategy. But for a housing needs report, one of the main objectives is to help local governments plan out where we can help support housing growth and housing development. In the rural areas, we don't have a lot of those local government restrictions and bylaws that are preventing some of the additional dwellings and housing that's coming in. One of the challenges I see with this motion, though, is any of these reports come with an expense. So conducting another housing needs report so much earlier than what is required is going to increase the tax burden on the community. And I don't really see, is the juice worth the squeeze? Are we really going to get a massive benefit from doing this report at this time? I just don't see the need to increase the expense on the taxpayers at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of A, B, C, and D? Mr. Williams? Vote in favor. Thank you. Opposed? Director Gisborne. Carried. 11.2 Rural Transit Solutions Fund. Again, this is A, B, C, and D. No typo on this one. And it is. What's the pleasure of the board? Director McCormick will move it, seconded by Director Williams, alternate Director Williams. Thank you. Discussion. I see we're putting 15,000 into it. And CAO, you wrote to the municipality regarding their size. What's the outcome of that?
Through the chair, it has been furthered on for a staff report to the council.
Okay. The same applies to
through the chair, we did receive confirmation from that they're in. But to be on the safe side, I would not change this motion at all because I don't know what the dynamics might be.
Thank you. Any further
I
discussion?
couldn't hear that. I couldn't hear what the CAO said.
Through the chair, can you?
Yes, now I can. Thank you.
Okay, the city has recommended that their staff bring back a report. And I just added that I would not recommend changing any of the content of the report this time.
Okay.
Excuse me, content of the recommendation. The motion before you.
With that, then I will call the vote. All in favor? Mr. Gisborne, were you voting or are you asked for the comment?
I was hoping to enter the debate and comment, Chair.
Okay, Chair, I'll hold off on the vote. Carry on.
Thank you, Chair Brabazon. At the Committee of the Whole, I expressed concerns about the long-term sustainability of an on-demand system. Support and points were expressed from other directors for the system, and I took that information to heart. So since the Committee of the Whole, I have done additional reading to find out more about the variations of on-demand public transportation systems. I'm not going to get into all the things I found out about. However, I still have concerns that are preventing me from supporting the initiative. My understanding is that mass public transit typically has a higher upfront capital cost, but then the transit provider can utilize economies of scale to reduce the individual cost and energy requirements to move people from point A to point B. There have been, it's a growing trend to have these on-demand systems, but there have been on-demand systems that have been unsuccessful. I believe I read about one in Helsinki. And what makes an on-demand transit system unsuccessful is lack of density. And in a rural area, we don't have a lot of density. If we were considering changing our rural areas to becoming more urban and more densified, through growth and growth pressures and, increasing services like water and sewer, I think that would be a different story. But in the rural area, we have relatively low density. And I believe the city is still, experimenting with their on-demand bus service. I recall a news article months ago that put the estimate for just the one bus at roughly $180,000 a year. That's a lot of money to run even just one bus, especially when we don't have the density to, make this, necessarily viable. So I'm still not convinced, because we're in a rural area out here, and I'm also kind of wondering. Say, we get one bus that's on demand. Well, we have north of town up to Lund, south of town to Sultry Bay, and we have Texada. If we only have one bus, well, some areas are going to lose out. So I'm just, maybe these questions will be answered in this report, but I think no matter how this report comes back, we're going to be looking at a very significant cost and not a lot of benefit to the rural residents who might be shocked to see the size of the bill to pay for such a service when it comes forward. That being said, on-demand services they're popular, they're positive, people like them. But yet at the same time, people complain about high taxes. And, if you want services, you got to pay for it. So that's my concern, and that's my apprehension at this time to support this resolution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I learned a whole pile of things when I served on the regional rural transportation on-demand working group. And one of the things I learned about was on-demand transit. We, in fact, on Texada, have on-demand transit right now, operated through someone who has the appropriate credentials, using his own private automobile. If the people are not wanting to go, there are no empty seats rattling around the city the way there is with a regular bus route. There are no empty seats. This is much more energy efficient using smaller vehicles, and the vehicles that are licensed in different areas can certainly serve the trick. Now, if someone wants to go off island, our driver will take them to the ferry, and presumably they would arrange either through the Zunga bus or whatever the appropriate arrangement is on the other side. They're environmentally friendly. They're passenger friendly too, because they go to areas that would never ever be served by transit, because yes, rural areas are less dense. Therefore, the need is there. It's an alternative to using your private automobile, which is what rural residents are really stuck doing if they're going to shop or do anything like that. So it's environmentally friendly, it's smart, it's convenient, and it's the right thing to do. So I'll be supporting the resolution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. With that, I'll call the vote. All in favor? 1, 2, 3. Opposed? Recommended 1. Thank you. That carries. That takes us down to the bylaws. Nope, don't have any. Report. Signing authority. Removing Ms. Howie as a signing authority since she has left the employment.
Moved.
Pardon?
I'll move that.
Director Falls, seconded by Director Lease. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None carried. Financial assistance policy 3.11 amendment. This is really housekeeping. All directors unweighted. Director Leeson, thank you. Secretary Card, Director Paul. Any discussion? None? All in favor? Opposed? None carried. New business? None. Question period.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I was struggling to unmute. My question is with regard to item 11.1, the housing needs report update and next steps. The motion carried is that the board consider an update of the QRD needs report to budget deliberations. My presumption is this will next appear at the Finance Committee sometime in the fall. Would that be a correct assumption, Chair?
I will ask the CAO, put him on the spot.
Through the chair, yes, it'll either appear there or during a planning committee meeting.
Thank you very much for the response. I appreciate that. That was my question, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Galinsky. Okay, that brings us to in-camera session. And we have a closed session, and I'm going to put Director Leeson on the spot.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the board move in camera and that the meeting be closed to the public on the grounds that the subject matter to be considered relates to matters covered by the community charter under section 90 sub 1C, labor relations or other employee relations, L, discussions with regional district officers and employees respecting regional district objectives, measures, and progress reports for the purposes of preparing an annual report under section 98, annual regional district report, and N, the consideration of whether a board meeting should be closed under a provision of this subsection or subsection 2.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Leeson. All right. All in favor? Opposed? None carried. That takes us to in camera. So we'll have a
started the board meeting. That's pretty warm for us.
And that's
Yeah.
pretty warm.
Are we?
Thank you. We're back in open session. We have nothing to report from the camera. Therefore, we are good. Good night, all.
Night, everybody.
Everybody, good work in the heat.
Have a good night. Have a good weekend.
Okay, you too. Thanks, everyone.
Well, Carlos.